You need to understand something that most people will never see. There's a psychological phenomenon happening right now in silence that completely destroys narcissists from the inside out. And Carl Jung predicted this exact pattern over a century ago. Stay with me, because what happens to narcissists after they lose an empath isn't just karma. It's something far more devastating. It's psychological disintegration. Here's what Jung discovered about the human psyche that explains everything. He said that we don't just interact with people, we unconsciously feed off their energy, their validation, their emotional labor. But when a narcissist loses an empath, they don't just lose a person, they lose their entire psychological life support system. And the collapse that follows is absolutely brutal. According to Carl Jung's research on psychological projection, narcissists live in a carefully constructed illusion. They've built an entire identity around being admired, needed, and irreplaceable. The empath was their mirror, constantly reflecting back the grandiose image they desperately need to believe about themselves. But when that mirror walks away, when it stops reflecting, something catastrophic happens. The narcissist is forced to face the void they've been running from their entire life. And Jung discovered that this confrontation with emptiness is the most terrifying experience a human being can endure. Listen carefully to what happens next, because this is where the invisible punishment begins. Carl Jung called it the return of the repressed. Everything the narcissist has denied about themselves, every insecurity they've projected onto others, every moment of authentic connection they've destroyed, comes flooding back. But here's the twist that will absolutely shock you. They can't process it. Their psyche wasn't built for self-reflection, it was built for deflection. So what happens when deflection no longer works? When the empath isn't there to absorb their projections anymore, Jung discovered that the psyche turns on itself. The narcissist begins to experience what he termed psychological fragmentation. They start crumbling from within. According to Carl Jung's theory of the shadow, we all have parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. But narcissists have something far more dangerous. They have what Jung called a disowned self, the part of them that feels inadequate, unworthy, and fundamentally defective. The empath's presence kept this shadow buried. Their constant empathy, their endless second chances, their willingness to see the good in them acted as a barrier between the narcissist and their own internal darkness. But when the empath leaves and stops feeding that illusion, the barrier collapses. And Jung discovered that when someone finally confronts their disowned self without the psychological tools to integrate it, they don't heal. They spiral. Here's what most people don't understand about narcissistic collapse. And trust me, this will change everything you thought you knew. Carl Jung said that the ego needs external validation to maintain its structure. But for narcissists, this isn't just preference, it's survival. The empath provided something Jung called mirroring function, constantly validating the narcissist's false self. Without it, that false self begins to crack. They start experiencing what Jung termed ego death, but without the wisdom or awareness to transform through it. They feel it as panic, as rage, as an unbearable emptiness they can't name. They'll jump from person to person, desperately seeking another empath to fill the void. But here's where the punishment becomes truly poetic. According to Carl Jung's research on psychological patterns, once someone has awakened, once an empath has individuated and reclaimed their power, they leave an imprint. The narcissist now unconsciously compares every new supply to what they lost. And no one measures up, because the awakened empath possessed something Jung called psychological depth, the capacity for genuine connection that the narcissist both craved and destroyed. Now they're haunted by what they can't recreate. Jung discovered that this haunting isn't metaphorical. It's a genuine psychological phenomenon where the absent person becomes more powerful than when they were present. But the invisible punishment goes even deeper, and this is where it gets absolutely devastating. Carl Jung understood that narcissists operate from what he called the inflated ego, a defensive structure built to avoid feeling their own inadequacy. But this structure requires constant maintenance, constant validation, constant proof of their superiority. The empath provided this maintenance unconsciously, through their patience, their understanding, their willingness to excuse and explain away the narcissist's behavior. When the empath leaves, the maintenance stops, and Jung discovered that without external reinforcement, the inflated ego doesn't just deflate, it collapses inward, creating what he called a negative inflation, where the person swings from grandiosity to worthlessness with nothing in between. The narcissist begins to experience their own medicine. The abandonment they inflicted, the emotional absence they normalized, the silent treatments they weaponized, all of it comes back. But magnified, because now they're alone with the one person they've been avoiding their entire life, themselves. And Jung discovered that this confrontation is the ultimate punishment, because it cannot be escaped, manipulated, or charmed away. According to Carl Jung's lifetime of research, there's a phenomenon he called psychological starvation. The narcissist becomes desperate, reaching out to old supplies, hoovering, making promises they'll never keep. But here's what makes this punishment so perfectly invisible. Every attempt to fill the void only deepens it, because they're not looking for a person anymore. They're looking for the feeling the empath gave them. The feeling of being seen as special, of being tolerated despite their toxicity, of having someone who would absorb their projections without reflection. That specific alchemy is gone forever, and Jung discovered that you cannot mourn what you never truly valued until it's irretrievably lost. The final stage of this invisible punishment is what Carl Jung called the integration crisis that never comes. For most people, hitting rock bottom leads to awakening. But narcissists lack the fundamental tool required for transformation, the ability to take responsibility. So they remain stuck in what Jung termed eternal recurrence, repeating the same patterns, destroying the same connections, forever seeking what they lost, but unable to understand why they can't find it. They live in a psychological prison of their own making, and the empath who walked away holds the only key. But that key is their own capacity for genuine self-reflection, authentic remorse, and real change. And Jung discovered that for true narcissists, these capacities remain forever out of reach. The invisible punishment isn't revenge, it's reality. It's the natural consequence of living inauthentically. It's what Carl Jung called psychological justice, where the universe doesn't need to punish, because the narcissist's own psyche does it for them every single day in the unbearable silence of their own company. And that is the most devastating consequence of all.